Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. You know the drill. We dig into the really fascinating stuff, the tech that's got everyone talking.
Exactly. We're talking about the kind of tech that makes you rethink what's possible.
And today, oh boy, today is one of those days because we're diving headfirst into YR technology.
Now, this is big, and I mean potentially game-changing big, folks. We're talking wearables, the Internet of Things. Even healthcare could look radically different.
Okay, color me intrigued.
Yeah.
But before we journey too far into the future, let's set the stage a bit. Everyone listening has probably used Bluetooth at some point.
Right, it's everywhere these days. But as much as we rely on it, Bluetooth has its drawbacks, right? Power consumption, for one. How often are you scrambling for your earbuds charging case?
Oh, all the time. It feels like they live on the charger. And my smartwatch, forget about it, practically glued to its charger.
And that, my friend, is the issue in a nutshell. Super convenient, yes, but it eats battery life for breakfast.
Yeah, and it's not just the battery life. I can't tell you how many times my Bluetooth headphones have chosen the absolute worst moment to cut out.
Ugh, the worst. And let's not forget those fun little data hiccups. It gets the job done, don't get me wrong, but there's definitely room for some improvement.
Right, and that's where I hear YR steps in, a new
Yeah.
player from Ixana. So what makes YR so different? What are we talking about here?
Just imagine for a second, a world where your devices need 100 times less energy than Bluetooth and have 10 times faster data speeds.
Wait, did you say 100 times less energy? That's almost impossible to fathom. That's a whole other ballpark, not just a little tweak.
Exactly. And we're not talking about some distant future fantasy here. The science behind it, it's actually pretty mind-blowing, a potential complete shift in how we think about things, particularly when it comes to wearables. Imagine putting on your smartwatch Monday morning and not even thinking about charging it all week.
Okay, now you got my full attention. I need to know more. But how? How does it even work? What's the secret ingredient in this YR magic?
Here's where it gets really wild. Instead of sending those radio waves through the air like Bluetooth or even Wi-Fi, YR takes a completely different route. It uses your body, your actual body, to conduct these super low-power signals.
Hold on, are you saying we become the network?
Yeah,
Like, are we
correct.
turning into walking, talking Wi-Fi hotspots?
Not exactly hotspots, but I like where your head's at. Think of it more like your body becomes a part of the network itself, like a pathway for the signals. You essentially become a moving part of the whole data transmission process.
Wow, that's both incredibly cool and a little bit creepy at the same time. I'll admit, I'm hooked.
As you should be. It's early days, we're still in the early stages, but the potential here, it's immense, particularly for those devices we wear. We're talking about a future where those battery life worries, they become a thing of the past. Design and functionality can really take off.
Yeah, it's like stepping into a world where the limitations, they kind of melt away.
It really does. It's like something you'd see in a movie, except we're talking about real life, and you
Ugh.
even mentioned healthcare. Where does YR fit into that? Healthcare, that's where things get really interesting. Just imagine medical devices that aren't held back by those bulky batteries anymore. We're talking about a constant flow of data from your wearables straight to your doctor.
So instead of those occasional checkups, doctors could have like a live feed of what's going on, maybe even catch things earlier.
That's the idea. It's all about shifting from reacting to problems to getting ahead of them. Imagine a heart rate monitor that's not just tracking, but actually analyzing your data in real time, sending a little alert to your doctor if something seems off, even slightly.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like having a whole medical team with you 24/7. But with all this data flying around, what about security? That's got to be a concern, right?
You're right on the money with that one. And that's actually another area where YR really shines. Since the transmission zone is so localized, it's basically your body acting as a shield. It's way more secure than traditional wireless methods.
So no more worrying about someone trying to intercept my data from across the coffee shop like they might with Bluetooth.
Exactly. YR keeps everything on a very short leash, basically confining it to your body, which makes unauthorized access way harder.
That's a big deal, especially when you're talking about sensitive medical information.
I see what you mean. It seems counterintuitive that using our body could be more secure, but the way you explained it, it actually makes sense.
It's one of those head-scratching moments that really highlights how revolutionary this technology could be. And it's not just about individual devices either. Remember how we were talking about Bluetooth struggling with those data rates?
Oh,
Well, with YR, we're not just talking about a speed boost. We're talking about devices that can actually share their processing power.
you're talking about distributed computing, right? That sounded super cool, but if I'm being honest, it's a little over my head. Could you break that down a bit?
Of course. Let's say you're wearing those lightweight AR glasses we talked about earlier. Instead of trying to cram all the processing power into the glasses themselves, which would make them bulky and hot and drain the battery in like 5 minutes,
Hmm.
RIAR lets them offload those heavy tasks to something like your smartphone. So the glasses are like the display, and the smartphone becomes the brains behind the operation.
You got it. It's all about building a network of devices that work together seamlessly, each one playing to its strengths. Your smartphone, with its powerful processor, handles all the heavy lifting, while those AR glasses give you a smooth, incredible, augmented reality experience.
That changes everything for design and functionality.
Hmm.
Suddenly, you're not limited by what you can squeeze into a tiny device. It's like having a whole network at your fingertips.
Exactly. And the best part is this whole distributed computing thing, it goes way beyond just smartphones and AR glasses. Imagine a network of sensors all over your house, all talking to each other seamlessly using YR, sharing data, sharing processing power to create a truly smart home environment.
Now that is next level. It's like taking the Internet of Things to a whole new level, more personal, integrated level. I love it, but I know any new technology comes with challenges. What are some of the limitations we're looking at here?
Of course, of course. It's still early days for YR, and while the potential is huge, it's important to be realistic. One of the big questions that comes up is range. How does it stack up against something like Bluetooth?
That's a good point. Are we talking super close proximity only, or can it stretch a bit further?
That's the thing with YR, it's really designed for those close range connections. We're talking wearables, smart home gadgets, things that are generally within arm's reach.
So not really a Bluetooth replacement, more like a specialist for specific scenarios.
Exactly. It's all about using the best tool for the job. Bluetooth's still the king when you need that wider range.
Right, playing to each technology's strengths. But with YR still being relatively new, I'm sure people have questions, maybe even some concerns. What are some of the things that come up most often?
One of the big ones, and it's understandable, is safety. People hear using the human body as a conductor, and they get a little understandably cautious.
It does sound a bit sci-fi, right? Like, are we messing with forces we don't fully understand?
Exactly. But the reality is the technology is designed with safety as a top concern. The power levels involved are incredibly tiny, way below any level that could pose a risk to us.
So we're not talking about like high voltage currents zapping through our bodies or anything.
Not even close. It's more about subtly working with the electrical fields that are already present in our bodies, and again, at super low power, completely different from, say, the electromagnetic radiation from your phone.
That makes sense. It seems like every time there's a big tech jump, there's that initial, wait, is this safe moment.
It's natural. It's good to be cautious, to ask those tough questions. What are the potential downsides? Are we doing this responsibly?
Absolutely. Having those conversations early is crucial.
Exactly. And that's part of what we're doing here, exploring the exciting stuff, but also making sure we're not shying away from those important questions.
It's about looking at the big picture, weighing the good and the bad, making informed decisions about the tech we bring into our lives.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And with YR, while there are still challenges to tackle, the potential benefits are hard to ignore.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into YR, what's the one big takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
If there's one thing to remember, it's this. YR, it's a fundamental change in how we view being connected. This isn't just a small step forward, it's a whole new way of thinking about how our devices become a part of our lives, making them better, not more complicated.
It's about breaking free from those old wireless limitations and stepping into a future where technology enhances our lives in a more seamless, integrated way.
Exactly. It's a really exciting time to be following this tech, and I can't wait to see what the future holds.
It's been awesome having you on. Thanks for diving into YR with us.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to everyone listening, thanks for tuning in to The Deep Dive. Until next time, keep those minds curious.